This thing on. Um, all right. So first off, normally I wait a few minutes before I actually start talking every time I do a live stream, give anybody or give people a chance to hop on. But because of the fact that I'm doing one really late, I don't know exactly how many people are going to tune in. I am just going to go ahead and jump right in talking about what I was going to talk about. Because besides the fact that this being a live stream, I have some stuff I wanted to put out, kind of like a newsy thing, and so I guess I just take a time to do it here, and also give anybody new a chance, or even though you guys have been here before, a chance to talk about something real quick with me. I couldn't tell you if you're talking about the PLM as a brand. I couldn't tell you, dude. I tend to, when I'm hunting for parts on eBay, I tend to be like, oh, that's cheap, and then try that. You know, I like I've said in a lot of videos, man, I preach, you know, budget Honda building. Unless I know for a fact something's going to break, I'm willing to give it a chance. And then if it does break, I kind of weigh the cost versus how long it lasted before I decide whether I would stamp it as a piece of shit or not. So generally speaking, if it lasts more than a year, it's good to me. Red. Well, I know you can't tell it here in the light, but I kind of like I got like a blondish looking patch going on right here. It's weird. I don't know. Wife pointed it up the other day. Been rocking it, you know, just about this much for a year or so now. I never really paid attention to it. Is that Mr. Mike? Okay, so yeah, so just in case, you know, why people are thinking, fuck, why the fuck did I stream this late? One, this isn't the first time I streamed this late. Actually, it's like the third. When I did the first couple of live streams when I was testing this shit out, I did them really late at night around this time when I got home from work. The last couple ones I did deliberately in the morning to give, you know, people a chance to hop in here. But just like I was giving people a chance to, you know, on my time zone to jump in, this is also me giving people in other time zones a chance, I think, because California is like a 4-hour difference. So there's, you know, it's midnight here, not so midnight over there. Plus, you know, I've gotten, you know, messages from people in New Zealand and fucking England and Australia. So I know there's more than just a couple guys watching different places around the world. I figure I'll switch up the live streams. Okay, so as the title says, you know, no one lives in Cali. Well, actually, there's a guy that hit me up on Snapchat the other day. He sent me a picture of him doing a dig in his car. And it looked kind of like El Paso. The way the mountains were and the desert looked, it looked a lot like El Paso. But he says he's in Cali. Anyway, so live streams. I've said a whole bunch of different times doing live streams that this is how I would like to do a live stream this time or once a week or whatnot. Generally speaking, I don't draw too much attention in for live streams. So I decided to keep them kind of random. Alright, that's cool, man. Keep checking in. So because of the fact that they're kind of like hodgepodgey, I don't want to, my big worry about doing live streams is doing them too often. I don't want people to hop on the channel and for like the 1 or 2 people that actually browse the video uploads and see live stream, because it's kind of fucking whack. So what I do figure is it's been a couple hundred subscribers since the last time I did a live stream. So what I'll do is, because subscriber growth is, you know, very slow, steady but slow. So I think it's safe to say that I can do a live stream every 100 or so subscribers, just in case the 1 or 2 or 3 people are hopping in, they're new to the channel, that, you know, that wouldn't mind tuning in for a live stream. Anthony, I think nothing about auto training. The only automatic transmission equipped vehicles that I in general that I'll fuck with is a minivan and a truck. And I will drive a manual truck. It's just that, you know, with the automatic truck, it's, you know, easy to explain that one. As far as modifying a car with automatic transmission, the only thing that I would ever consider modifying with auto training is a truck. Anything else, absolutely no-go. So I have no opinions on a Neon with an automatic transmission. Okay, so anyway, like I was saying, you know, live streams, I'll probably do a live stream now like every 100 or so subscribers. I'm looking back through my uploads, and the uploads aren't looking too bad. You know, I'm seeing here the Rev Limit video came out a week ago. The K2083 discussion came out about a week ago. The F20 video came out about a week ago. Now, I know this is not exact because YouTube is fucking stupid in the head. There's a shop video that came out about 2 weeks ago. Another one 2 weeks ago. So, 7 or 8 videos. Let's see. 1, 2... Shit. What's up, guy? Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's been 5 like actual car related videos I've done over the course of the last 2 or so weeks. So that's not a lot, but it's, you know, it's still, it's better. It's I think it's a little bit better than 1 upload a week. You know, sometimes you get 2 uploads and then you'll get a week with no uploads. But as I've described, as I've talked about this shit before, guys, a lot of my new uploads come from you guys. Honestly, for the most part, generally speaking, the shit that's floating around in my head on a regular basis, I've talked about. There is 180 videos. I know not every one of them is a discussion or a build video, but the vast majority of them are. So with 180 uploads over the past year or so, I have talked about pretty much everything I can think to talk about. But every once in a while, you know, I'll check my morning DMs and I'll look whatever I've been sent to, somebody's messaged me, and every once in a while I'll get a good question that, you know, hey, let me talk about this. And so recently I haven't got any new questions. Most of the questions are redundant ones that I've already talked about in other videos. I think that most of the new subscribers that are coming on now aren't people who are seeing new uploads. They're ones that just, you know, have got a suggested video, something I've done like months ago. And, you know, so that's why most of the questions I'm getting aren't inspiring any new videos, because it's just people watching old ones that are asking me questions that I've done already in the turbo shit, because the turbo stuff is what I constantly get questions over. You know, that's why that playlist, I guess, was so popular. Also, I mentioned, well, in the title was mentioned there's a road trip here. As I told you guys a couple weeks back, I said that I was going to take a vacation. I decided not to take a vacation. I decided, well, not a standard vacation. I love eBay turbo kits. I've never bought like a name brand turbo kit. I have a video. It's called eBay Parts Guide. It goes over all the shit that I buy for engines and whatnot. That's as pistons, rods, bearings, head gaskets, gasket kits, everything. Everything's covered there. So anyway, road trip. I didn't take a conventional vacation. I decided I fuck Monday, and I decided to take every Monday off for a day that I had. I have 5 days to burn, so I was taking 5 Mondays off. And so I started at the end of July, and I was going to end the week before the end of August. But a friend of mine happened to mention that Labor Day weekend is at the end of the month, so I'm still going to have 1 more Monday off, if I'm thinking here correctly. So I'm going to have Mondays off the rest of the month. Originally, this friend who pointed this out, we were supposed to meet up and do some shit, and it kind of looked like it wasn't going to happen, which is part of the reason why I decided to go ahead and take Mondays off, because I wasn't going to burn a week and then this guy not show up. So, and it turns out to be a good idea that I did it anyway. Well, just on his side, he had some personal shit going on that he needed to take care of. So, my idea for vacation wasn't meshing up with what he was doing at the time. So, he pushed it to coming down on like the last weekend of the month. So with that being said, we were deciding like what the fuck we're gonna do. We're gonna stick around town or hit the road. And we only got 3 days, you know, so that's not really a lot of time. And then so we decided that or what we're tentatively deciding on, we seem to be in agreement to this, is going to Richmond, Virginia. I've never been to Richmond. It's not that far of a drive from here, so fuck it, why not, right? The whole point of this is saying that the last time I took a road trip when this channel was, you know, was still growing, and I know I'm still growing now, but back then I had like maybe 60, 70 subscribers. It was well before 100. And so the last time I took a road trip, there was no chance at all. That's cool. Well, there was no chance at all for me running into anybody that's a subscriber. Now there's 1,600 fucking people, and I do keep my eyes on the VA Honda group, and I see people that are subscribers or people who have inboxed me on VHP Engine's Facebook page that are commenting there. So I figure maybe there's a chance that while I'm down there for a couple days over the weekend, if any of you guys want to fucking hit me up, maybe we can link up. Because of course I'm down for that. If I had fucking some cash, I'd be coming back with some parts, but you know, I'm still broke. On the broke side though, on the broke report, my wife has juggled jobs back and forth. I think she's like fucking 3 or 4 jobs she's signed up for and quit. I'm gonna get there, Mike. I'm gonna talk about that in a minute. She's juggled jobs back and forth, and you know, as per suit how she was in Florida, where she had to quit a job before motherfuckers would give her more money. Same thing happened here. My cousin was a supervisor at another place, she offered my wife 40 hours to come there, guaranteed 40 hours. It was less paid by the hour, but the hours were going to make up for the money that she wasn't going to be making, you know, per hour. Well, she goes to this place, starts working. Immediately, you know, the hour thing fell through. The 40-hour guarantee was fucking out the window. First week, 11 hours for training. Second week, 25 fucking hours. But the good thing is the boss from the job she just left was like, please come back, you know, let's talk about this. Wife goes, negotiate hours, you know, because the lady was trying to do her part-time too, and it was killing us because she was doing like 2 or 3 hours sometimes. So wife says, if you can guarantee that I'm going to come back and, you know, work this many hours, I'll come back. So we locked in full-time and $1 raise compared to what she was before. So with that being said, the money should be a big-ass increase. And I should be able to spend $80 every once in a while to spend some money. Roy, Cali is never a place for me to go back to. I went out there and visited one time. It's extremely expensive, and car laws are fucking tight as hell. I could never live out there. Now, as far as what I was saying, expectations for myself. As far as you guys, some of you guys know, you know, this is already months ago this shit happened. I came up here for, the reason why I'm in West Virginia is because I came up here for a job. I transferred up here for a position as a shop manager. I had my own shop. About 3 months after I came up here, the company did a huge layoff. One of those guys got his head rolled, was like my boss's boss, good friend, like 30-some years in the company and all that shit. The guy's on his last year to his retirement. This is now, I actually have an update for this. I can say a little bit more because now I know more. Now, they played some head games with me. They made me doubt my initial belief, saying that they had, you know, it was just a coincidence or whatnot. But, you know, that he took my job and everything, but it wasn't. You know, I got confirmation from that guy who replaced me, his friend, that that the big boss did, in fact, you know that this guy only wanted to do 1 year, and they sacrificed me like a fucking lamb because I'm the new guy to the region. They just took me out of my fucking position and gave my job to this guy. Now, the thing is, I'm still in contention to get that job back when he leaves again, which will be in April. All right. Now, when I was given the position, my boss told me at the time, we'll look back at this in a year or so from now, and it'll all be over. And at the time, I thought he was just trying to cheer me up. But now that I know for a fact this guy is leaving in a year, you know, there's a chance I might get my fucking job back, my position. That'll be a $25,000 yearly increase in my salary. I'll go from making $1,400, or I'll go from making $3,200 a month to like, what's it, like $5,000 or some shit. Anyway, it'll be a big increase. It'll be a $1,400 monthly extra income, so that'll help a lot. And I can start doing more shit and buying more things, you know, that I can help put into building shit for the channel. Now, the thing is, though, there's still people in the shop I'm at working against me. The guy who helped get me in trouble for them to use as an excuse to remove me from my position is still hoping to get this position. And he's still throwing mad shade my way to try and either push me out or get me in trouble where I'll be fired. All right. So there's him and there's one other guy, you know, that want the job as well. The only good thing is about this is both of those guys wanted the job before I was hired, and they were both passed up. So the chances are I'll get my shit back. So the thing is important about this situation that I'm in right now, the reason why I'm explaining this to you guys is because the chances, I mean, I think the chances are pretty favorable for me to get my position back. Now, if I get my position back, the money is a massive increase, and I'll be able to move again without fucking having to worry about spending like $30 I can't spend it, you know. So that would be great. Now, if it does not happen, I don't get the position back, then I think that'll be pretty much the beginning of the end of my time here in West Virginia, because as things have not been going very well. Yeah, it is politics. It is 100% politics, and I had to get woke up to it the hard way. Yeah, and I'm hoping that, you know, and that's the thing, you know, I was just talking to family about this the other day. I was happier working in Miami than I was working up here, and I actually had beef with a couple guys down there a couple times. It didn't last, but, you know, I actually came close to fighting a couple dudes down there because, you know, they stepped up and said some shit thinking I wasn't gonna be you know, forceful back, and I was, and check some motherfuckers, as compared to here where I got people who are trying to take my job, and I can't say anything to them because they're mad polite to my face, and all this shit is behind curtains, so I never can confront these people without looking like an asshole. So fucking yeah, politics, man, it's hard. Even the guy who took my fucking position from me, this 60-something-year-old guy, you know, I don't know what the fuck the deal is with him. Yeah, I am a mechanic. I'm a mechanic now, but when I came up here to West Virginia, I came up here as a shop manager. They gave me a shop. I was officially a mechanic on paper when I was in Miami, but I was running a shop down there too, but I was running like the night shift while the current supervisor had been gone for months, like a quarter of the year. And then when he was back, I was the side guy. I was helping the supervisor shop or whatnot. So I had a really cake position down there, man. Everybody I rolled with down there was good. I mean, there was still shit talking, of course, in the shop. You don't ever get away from that. But it wasn't like harmful stuff. It's just like petty stuff that, you know, could be ignored. Here it's a different ballgame. It's a very, very small shop. So when they took me out of the shop management position, they had to put me back on the floor because there was no under management position. There was no supervisor's job for me to take. Now they've promised me to give my position back, you know, but I don't know. I can't hold out for my breath. You know, the thing is, I'm stuck here in a position because I got it wiped. You know, the money's cleaned the fuck out, so I can't just up and pack up and leave to go to Miami right now. But I can once the new year turns over. You know, income tax comes back in. I'm married, got kids. I get a couple $1,000s every year, so I can easily pack up a U-Haul and go one way. And that's the idea. Now, this guy came in April. He started in April, so I figure around February, March is when I'll start hearing talk about whether this guy is gonna go and I'm gonna get my position back or not. February, give or take, is usually when income tax comes back. So right around the end of February, I'll have money in my fucking pocket. And by March, I should know if I'm going to get the job back or not. So if I don't get the fucking job back, there's a very, very strong chance that I can pack up and leave. Now, I've already been in talks the whole time with the guys I used to work with in Miami, and I know my job is open for me anytime I want to go back. Besides, even if I couldn't get, you know, right away back to where I was, but there's still like 6 or 7 different writer shops down there that are always hiring. Writer headquarters are down there, so I could always jump back in there. I have plenty of options if I want to go back to Florida. Now the thing is, you know, is a big greed factor because this isn't a good choice for the family. Like, it's a good choice for me and my wife when it comes to making money because her old job wants her back down there too, and they're offering her $17 an hour. And if I go back down there to Miami, if you know, I may not get a pay raise. I'll probably go back to making $20 an hour, $21 an hour. But, you know, with that money, plus my wife's jump from $11 to $17, you know, weekly, and then on top of that, the money I'll start making again from selling engines on a regular basis, I'll be fine, you know. So I'm completely fine with going back down there. What's up, Mr. Banger? So, this is something that's definitely on the table now. I've said several times. Yeah, well, Devin, man, sometimes you got to stick your hand out there and take a chance. See, the situation with me leaving, it seemed like a smart thing, and it wasn't so bad of an idea. The thing is that I figured if I'm gonna leave Miami, come up here, even if I stayed on the same salary, which I did wind up back on. You know, cost of living up here is cheaper, right? So that's great. Plus, I grew up in this town as a kid, and I got family here, and that's great. And my family that I reconnected with is actually one of the main reasons why I want to stay. Another big reason I wanted to stay. No, I don't have ASCs. I just got years of experience doing this shit. But another reason why I stayed is because the schools are great here for the fucking kids. The environment for children here in this town is great. And my son's a little fucking slow. He's not fucking retarded or autistic or whatnot, but he's not where he needs to be. And being in a classroom with 30-some kids and a teacher who don't give a shit, it's kind of hard for my son to be able to catch up. He's going to be a fucking GED dropout at 15. And I'm actually kind of cool with that. You know, as long as you can work with your hands, I don't give a shit if you don't have a fucking diploma. Yeah, dude, Miami fucking sucks. I went to Miami for the first time to live there, you know, when I was 14. And the only reason why I was able to get through Miami school system is because of the fact that I wound up going to a specialty school with a small population. I couldn't, and my son's like fucking, he's really naive to how real things are. He's, you know, he's only fucking 7. He's a real kind kid, and I know some of those monsters down there would just tear him to fucking pieces, and that makes me really paranoid. Even if I take him to a better area, kids still down there are fucking savages. Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, that my kids is like the #1 reason why I don't want to take them out of here. The family is a very close second because my kids have bonded with the family too, and I would hate to fucking take my kids out of here to being stuck in the house all the time, can't go outside because it's too fucking hot, and then not being able to understand why they're not seeing their cousins. Yeah, if Florida's... Well, I don't know. I haven't experienced West Palm Beach, the school shit. But to be real with myself, even though I would be open to living in other places in Florida, I even consider Central Florida. The most likely the chances are if I go back to Florida, I'm going back home, because I know the job is on lock for me, my wife, and I think that I think it's safe to say that I got close enough people down there where I could hold up for a little while I found a place. And I've actually got a plan. I've got a plan in mind to how this would work out too. I could clean out my fucking house, put everything in storage. My wife would stay working at her job. They would go stay with my cousins. Her and my kids would go stay with my cousins. And I would go to work down south, staying with a homeboy until we had enough money for a deposit. And then we would make the move like that. That would be an idea if I need to bug out on a quickness. But I don't think that's the case. Now, expectations for the channel. See, now, I knew fucking at the beginning of this shit that I could very easily go into a slump and just completely drop off, because at the end of the day, you run out of shit to talk about. There's not any more shit to talk about unless I'm trying to force a conversation. And I'm not trying to do that. You know, I've mentioned this on a video like a week ago, that I don't put out videos all the time. I could make up bullshit, or I could just do bullshit like this more often and make an upload every other day, or guarantee an upload once a week. But I want to make sure that when I put out a video, it's decent. And there's some videos I look back on and I'm thinking what's up, man, that I could redo. But, you know, for the most part, I'm not trying to rehash something unless I don't double tap a topic unless there's something that I felt that I missed that's important enough that I can talk about in length. Like, that's why you get the D-Series playlist and shit like that, because there is multiple things in one topic that can be talked about that can stretch more than one 15 or 10 minute video. So now I had an answer for that a long time ago, and the answer to this thing was, well, once I started to slump off, I would have enough money, I would have enough notoriety at the time in Miami to be able to sell engines faster, get more fucking parts moving through me, and I could go out. I would have more engines out there running, so I could do more, you know, after build reviews, which is what I really wanted to do with the channel. That I build an engine, somebody gets a dyno tuned, I'm there while it's being tuned, I'm with it, riding, you know, ride-alongs in the street, so everybody can see what the fuck my builds have done. It just didn't turn out that way, because by the time I started to get popular enough where people recognized what I was doing and people were coming to me, I decided to fucking move out of the state. Now, addressing that, you know, it seems like, oh, you should have stayed in Florida. In hindsight, yeah, I should have stayed in Florida. But at the same time, too, I'm not unhappy with my choice. Because I was able to reconnect with family on a very good level. This place is good. The house I'm living in is fucking nice. It's got its problems, but it's nice. It's compared to the fucking vermin-infested shithole trailer I was living in. This is definitely a huge upgrade. And it's not that much extra a month. And so there's that. The only thing that really fucks me up on my income since coming up here was that I bought that truck right before I came. And I only bought the truck because I thought I'd be able to handle the expense. You know, extra insurance at $548 extra a month for that fucking truck is an extra $700. That's a whole paycheck. And I just wasn't counting on that, you know, losing that money. $50 a brand new engine, something's fishy there. There's got to be a problem with it. I love $50 engines. I buy $50 engines all day, but those engines are fucked. Yeah, man, Roy, yeah, it's true, and that's the thing. Honestly, bro, like, I tried when I was younger. I came back up to West Virginia. I left here when I was 14. I was gone until the second time I tried to come back. I was 19 when I came back. I made it 5 months and got the fuck out of here, bro. It's great for kids, not so great for a young adult, and okay for adults, you know. I know, you know, when the job was taken from me at the time, I would have done, if I was younger and I was single, I'd have been gone. I'd have been on a fucking plane the next day out of here. But I had to stop and think about it, and I had to think about my fucking family and everything. Yeah. Yeah, so I had to sit down with my wife and we talked about it, and, you know, things are Devin, you buy a fucking B18 with a blown head gasket, you buy a B18 with a rod knock. You'll get it for $50. It's all day. That was my bread and butter when I was in Florida, bro. If you go back and look at some of my old pictures on Instagram, you'll see fucking engines stacked in rows. I had plenty. You know, and so that's the thing, you know, like, that's cool. That's extremely good. $1,500 for a B16. So the whole thing is this, you know, I very much still want to do the part shop thing for engines, and I still want to do an engine shop, and I think I can use the former to verify the later. I know that I could get back into things. Like, honestly, I know if I packed up my shit, I got 3 engines in there that I would have sold before I even showed up in town. So I know I can start generating revenue like right away. Now, here's on the long-term goal, you know, I was thinking that if I don't go back to, like, if I get the job back, you know, there's no rush for me to leave. Honestly, what I want is I just want 1 solid year as a service manager, so that way I can, you know, fluff the resume so I can take that anywhere. Now, do I have a problem with losing my position as a service manager to go be a supervisor in Miami? Fuck no. I was a service manager here for 5 months or 6 months, and then they put me back on the floor, so I'm taking orders again, and I got no problem with that. And that's one thing that they were worried about, saying too, like, well, we don't know how you're gonna react when you're out there taking orders from people you're giving orders to. Well, as chill as I am here on YouTube is exactly the way I am in the shop. I don't fucking order people. I ask for things to be done, and people listen, and everybody got along well. As a matter of fact, the one good thing, though, that I have in my favor is that everybody except the guy who wants the job is completely fine with me taking my position back. So there's that, and I got no problem with being a grunt. You know, it's not a problem for me. I just want to make my money. So, you know, I want at least a solid year as a service manager to go back to fluff my resume. With only 6 months under my fucking belt, I gotta explain why the fuck the time was short. And regardless of whether I tell them the truth, it's depending on whether they're gonna buy it or not. So, but I would like to have that. And if it goes back and I get my job back, then hopefully the extra money I'll be able to bring in, I'll be able to start, you know, doing stuff with my Integra at least, so that'll fill up some space for uploads. And if it doesn't work out that way, then I figure as soon as my kids I can see that my son's caught up to where he should be, at least for communication wise and shit, and then I might, you know, take the chance in going back down to Florida. And then if I go back down to Florida, that will increase output here. I'll be a lot more shop videos because I'll be building engines again on a regular basis, probably even once a week. Trade a single cam for it? Yeah, no doubt for that. Oh, so honestly, yeah, that's, you know, I guess 28 minutes. It took about as much time as I figured it was going to take to go over. That's pretty much it, I guess, for all the new shit I wanted to pop out. If there's any of you guys, out of all 8 of you that are here watching right now who didn't catch it in the very beginning, I'm going to be taking a road trip. Most likely, it's almost locked in, taking a road trip to Richmond, Virginia. So if any of you guys are along that way, along the corridor or in the area, hit me up. I think it's a done deal. I'm pretty sure it's locked in. So, any questions? Oh, one thing I could add. One of the guys on here, John Baker, he commented on the K20A3 discussion the other day, and he said that he has all his shit that he was building for his A3s is up for sale. Hopefully, David, I couldn't tell you in-depth details on the single cam trains just because I've never cared enough to know. But I know that the SI transmissions or the VTEC transmissions, they have shorter gearing than the non-VTEC. Same as like Doc VTEC B series versus LS training. So if you're gonna try and stay NA, if you want to stay NA, then get a VTEC transmission. If you're gonna go boost, then get a non-VTEC transmission for the longer gears. $300 for a D series tranny. Ask me how much I pay for a D series tranny. $300. Nope. $50. $50 is all I'll throw down for a D tranny, and I generally resell them for $150 later. Yeah, $100 isn't buying. I mean, $100 isn't bad. Like I said, I resell mine for $150. So, and I think $150 is fair. Generally speaking, when you can buy a long block for a $300 or $400 or $300 for a single cam long block, let's be honest here, and then $150 for the transmission, you're looking at about $450 for a swap. That's not bad. I think that's fair. I mean, generally speaking, I've sold complete swaps for $500 to $550. That's with axles and shit included. Well, I guess here's another small bit of news. There's a possibility that I might be working on some American shit here soon, but it's not guaranteed yet. It's not 100% locked down, but it might be some American work coming across this way. Yeah, Roy, I'd agree. $300 is probably what you're gonna pay for an H. Mike, if you're trying to do like stock for stock, a B20 swap is definitely better. If you're talking about getting into modifications and shit, then I guess it just depends on what exact mod you're doing to see which one is cheaper. But the B18, generally speaking, is like the single cam of the B series, meaning it's the cheapest block to go. So if you've already got a B series set up and you fucked up your engine, then the B18 is definitely the best one to grab. It's like, 'cause it's cheaper. You can get a fucking healthy B18 for like $250, $300, as opposed to a B20, or generally speaking, people are going to tax and they're going to be asking $450, $500. Yeah, same mounts. Mr. Triller, which Bay Area? You talking about Tampa or you talking about San Francisco? If you got engines laying, San Francisco, huh? Yes, cool shit. Well, dude, if you got fucking engines laying around, man, you need to get your ass on the rebuild fucking wagon and start fucking rebuilding shit, stashing on the side, or possibly reselling. Where are you at again, Mr. Banger? Where are you at? You said VA, or am I tripping? I was like, where are you at? Connecticut. Well, I have no idea how the car scene is up there, so maybe rebuilding necessarily isn't worth the money unless you're just keeping them as backups. Roy, have you been digging around on the Facebook groups for the local? I mean, I'm sure there's got to be like fucking Honda groups out there with like 20,000 fucking people, and that's kind of high price. Robert, Facebook and Facebook only. Craigslist there's a lag in communication there. It takes way too much time. eBay will rob you. Don't go eBay unless you have no choice. Yes, the Facebook groups will save you lots of fucking money. Roy, you should do Facebook. Even if you only do Facebook for car parts, it is worth it. When I was in El Paso is when I was finally put onto the Facebook thing, and that changed my life. I do what I do with engines because of Facebook. If you wanna maximize the worth of your B18 that you want to resell, you should rebuild it. Yeah, Roy, it's definitely worth it. Like, I'd fucking switch the camera and show you, but it'd lag out. I know that in the big city areas like Miami and shit, there's several groups, and all of them have like 20,000 people. That's how I was able to buy parts so cheap all the time. Keep my inventory up. I was buying a new engine every fucking week. Every paycheck I'd buy a new block. Yeah, that's good. 480 for the training, yeah. Yeah. ED6. I don't even know what the ED6 is. And to be 100% honest, I don't think I have a favorite swap at all. I really like... There's so many different combinations out there. Alright, see, others... okay, EF hatch. Thank you. Look, I know that some of you guys out here, you know, like to fucking use, like, the exact, you know, American fucking dash and shit. But I think this is one thing where you don't have to be a fucking purist on. If the crowd knows and identifies a car as an EF, EG, EK, use those fucking things. It's not any different. It's not any different. Yeah, Roy, like I said, the Facebook thing changed how my life went. It changed how my fucking life went. So, like, Facebook will open you up and the parts opportunity is going to be there. And I know somebody right now making fuck tons of bread because he fucking rented a storage place, a huge storage place, and started buying shells for mad cheap, ripping all those shells completely to every little piece you could find and started flipping shit. And not, you know, not at my price level, because I don't sell very often, which is why I don't hike my shit up too high. He was a little bit higher than I would like, but a lot less than what most people would sell. So this guy's rolling in fucking bread now just from selling parts to reselling on Facebook. Facebook made that shit possible. No, I've never used CSS, but CSS, if you want to do cylinder modification, that's CSS is what I advocate to you to do for cylinder modification. I have no need to do CSS because I don't deal with those kind of power levels. And I do have plans to get to a higher level of power someday when I can afford it. And my choice will most likely be the K when that happens. And the K can handle 700 horsepower on a stock sleeve, so I don't think I'll ever really need to go with any aftermarket sleeve reinforcement. Your GSR shift linkage isn't going to give you any kind of special shifting power, so it's the same as any other before. The only thing I think is different, like that makes any kind of difference maybe, is like the shifter itself, because the way the bends are. Like a GSR shift, like a shifter, I think is a little neater than the standard one because it gives you a little bit more throw. But I think if I was really looking at, you know, an aftermarket shifter, I would go with that K-Tune, which I've wanted forever and never got one because they're kind of expensive. Yeah, I mean, I've known people who've used them, but I will never take a B series beyond 500. You know, fact, write it down. That's God's honest truth. High 400s or maybe right at 500, but I won't go beyond that. So I'll never need that kind of cylinder reinforcement. I would try to grab one for $300 or less. I wouldn't pay anything more than $300. See, like, what was it? I think Roy, was it you said it, or maybe Devin, you said you like to be patient when you're looking for deals. That patience does go into your Facebook shopping as well. Well, anyway, so the patience thing makes a huge effort. Like I was buying to rebuild, And by buying to rebuild like that, it's not like I needed any of these parts. And that's one thing I've said too in my Facebook shopping guide is never shop when you need a part. Always shop ahead of time. So what you do is anytime that you see a deal pop up, like I see like a GSR head, the guy wants $300 for, or $400. That's a little bit high for me. But what I'll do is I'll bump the post and I'll track it. If it's up there for a long time and nobody's bought it, then that means usually he's either going to relist it, drop the price, or he's open to negotiate. So you track things that are a good deal or something that you're waiting for might to become a good deal, and then you buy it. Like if I see a Doc VTech head for $200 and I have $200 in my pocket, guess who's got a Doc VTech head? You know, I don't need it, but I can use it later for sure, or I can resell it and make $150 extra easy. I don't really recommend cams at all, honestly, for anything, unless you're looking at 500 plus, and then you'd have to do your own individual research on that. Anything less than 500 cams, $500, anything under 500 wheel horsepower, stock cams. If you're going to go B series, then maybe you can do like some Frankenstein cam swap in there. And I would always recommend GSR Type R. I always go to GSR because GSR is way cheaper than Type R cams, easier to find, and they're way cheaper. I know I said it twice, but god damn it, it makes that much difference. Yeah, I know. I've I don't know if you've watched, but my Vitara Mini Me build, it broke 400 horsepower stock head, and I know it'll make upwards to mid 400 plus, so mid 400s without having to upgrade a head. Yannica, ACT, Yannica. B18B, B20 main weaknesses of valvetrain. I couldn't back that up because I know 300 plus horsepower B18s and B20s happen all day. They share a head, by the way. They're the same head. I don't know. I guess it really just depends on how you're gonna rev up. Thanks. If you're gonna make like serious power though, like if you're really gonna try and push for that non-VTEC serious power, then yeah, I would recommend upgrading your valve train. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he's right, but what's up, Boosted? You're gonna need bigger injectors than that, buddy, if you want to make any power. 550, you're not gonna make any power at all. Whenever you're gonna do injectors, I would always recommend, if you're gonna do injectors, oh fuck, I'm sorry, my fucking brain scrambled here a little bit, thinking faster than my mouth can keep up. If you're gonna do boost, anybody doing boost, I would always recommend at least 750 to get into the game, because depending on the size of your turbo and your compression, you may run out of fuel. Yeah, 750cc gets you into 400 horsepower. The most I've made off 750s was I made 440, and I still had a decent amount of injector left. But I would always recommend at least 750s. Turbo always. I had a topic on. I've got a turbo talk video, a supercharged talk video, and I've also got a nitrous one. Until we get a more diverse and cheap lineup of superchargers for Honda, turbo will always be the way to go. Generally speaking, turbo is the way to go. But I mean, I know that people like to be diverse and shit, and people like to change up just for change up's sake, and that's fine. And even me, being a hardcore turbo fan, I would do the supercharger if we had more to work with and if they weren't so fucking expensive. But I mean, like, for a decent supercharger kit, you're looking at like $3,000 fucking dollars. And generally speaking, they're not going to make a lot of power on a Honda because they're not big enough to make that kind of power. Shit, if they're all the same fucking price, then definitely get the 1600s. I mean, you can never go too big with injectors. You can always dial it down on your flow, so that's great. Well, Roy, what's your car? What's your setup? Yeah, in Connecticut, man. I mean, I would assume if your LSV is healthy, if it's healthy, then you could just be brave and throw a turbo kit on there and do stock turbo. Like I warranty my stock boost setups at 350 horsepower. I know it'll hold that, and as long as you ain't got no issue with your block. That guy I was talking about that's making a shit ton of money selling Honda parts on Facebook, he also ships. He even had a guy from Ohio drive down to Florida to pick up something from him. I know he has an eBay account too. This is something I never thought of before, but this is something I could be thinking of now. I'll hit him up, as a matter of fact, get some more information, and I'll do a feature video for him. For some of you guys who want like a guy who's directly or solely, specifically Honda, the great thing about this is, like, eBay, you go and you see people selling shit or you look for shit, sometimes you can't find it. This guy, if I put you in touch with him directly, if he doesn't have it listed already or he doesn't have it in his possession, then that would be something that he could pick up for you and then send it to you. So this is something that I haven't thought of before that I would definitely be willing to do, and I will talk to him recently. I'll talk to him soon. And I know I said, like, I've been saying for the last 2 or 3 weeks I was going to do that shout out for Genesis Automotive. That is coming. I got the permission to do that. That will be soon, as soon as I stop being lazy and make the video. I just don't want to make a shitty video. It's a shout out for a guy who I respect, so I don't want it to be like half-assed. I want it to be decent. All right, Mike, just do me a favor and DM me on Facebook so I don't fucking forget. But I will talk to him about it, and I will do that soon. No, he's not from Connecticut. He's from Miami, but he's got like a warehouse that he rents that he has got fuck tons of Honda parts. Right at the time I was leaving to come up to West Virginia, he started doing this. And what he does is he buys shells, or he buys blown up cars, or even healthy cars, buys them for the cheap, strips them down to the dick, bare metal, and sells parts. So he's got fuck tons of shit in stock all the time. I've seen pictures of the warehouse. Within a month or two, it blew up. It fucking got huge. And there's even some things that he's got for sale that, I mean, I keep an eye on just in case I need the shit. But I'm always broke, so I'm not buying anything from anybody anyway. And that's exactly what that's one of the reasons I want to go back. I see that shit now. Tony, yeah. That's what I would like to do for engines, and then of course I wouldn't be fucking shy to spread out. And beyond that, I would like to have an engine shop, and I might even start one here if I can get the revenue again. Yeah, there is hit or miss risk on that. Alexis, the one thing I can say about this guy is he's a part swapper. He buys and resells. He doesn't rebuild anything. He's not like me when it comes to that. I was buying engines that were bad and I was rebuilding and selling a good engine. He doesn't do that. So whatever condition he has when he gets it is how he resells it. But as far as I know, and I trust him enough to where I don't think he would deliberately sell something fucked up. I don't know, man. Like, as I've talked about it before, I'm not like one of those people who likes to do that stage up shit for power. Whatever that you're going to make with your car, make with your car. Because every time you go up a significant amount of numbers in power and horsepower, every single time you experience that new level of power, it's going to be like your first time all over again. The sooner you get to where your end power is going to be, the faster you'll get used to it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly. I haven't sat down and really punched numbers to think exactly how much money is going to come in from the wife working and shit, but hopefully it will be enough where I can start buying engines again. Or hopefully the fucking channel steady grows like this and I'll find more people local again, like the guy who I did the trade for recently, Mr. Drew, who, he's only 3 hours away, came down, we swapped out. So yeah, there's that thing. No, there's a guy, the B18 high compression I built with the PR3. I swapped out that engine for another guy's healthy B18 block and blown up B16. The main reason why I did this is because I'm desperate to get some advertising, and he's local advertising. So if he gets his engine running and he tells all his buddies or whatnot, like, where he got the engine, then that's more chance of people to bring me their shit. And if I'm bringing in labor only, pure labor jobs, and I'm not putting anything into it, then that's extra revenue to buy things for the channel. Stock P13 ECU H-Series training from Old Teggy. Possibly. I mean, turbo kits, generally speaking, go for as low as $300. I've seen them even as low as $250. I actually sold a turbo kit to somebody one time for $350 and then bought it back for $150. That was awesome. That was a great deal for me. Offer up? No, I don't use that. Yeah, dude, I would love to get a J-Series. And I've seen so many times a J-Series sell for fucking pennies on the dollar, but it always came up at the wrong time for me. Like, wrong time financially. Like, I'll go out and buy a block, and then like a fucking hour later, I get home and get on Facebook again. J-Series for sale. I'm like, fuck you, guy. Where were you an hour ago when I was buying that shit? I definitely want to build one of those one day. Damn. I don't deal with Craigslist at all. Besides the fact that there's a lot of shady people on there, there's a communication lag. I email somebody or maybe text somebody, and people don't generally answer their phone as fast as they would comment on Facebook. Because when somebody puts it on Facebook and you get a comment on that post, you know exactly what it's for. The V18 can break backs, huh? Was surprised you to know that I pick up a fucking V18 from the ground, put it against my chest, and walk around with it. Before I started lifting. This is before I started lifting, a long ass time ago. Because nobody could help me. My wife's a fucking 4'8", 90-pound midget lady who she ain't helping shit. So I had no choice but to get strong. The only engine I've ever had a fucking hard time lifting up was a 2J. Damn, motherfuckers are heavy as shit. You ripped that fucking J out of that Odyssey. Yeah, J's are hard to find information on. That's why, like when I first talked, I think what started me down the road of speaking about the J series was when I did that How Much Power Stock, which I think was the first video in that turbo playlist of mine. And I kind of like glanced over the J in there a little bit. And then I had people challenging me on it. Like, of course the internet loves to fucking fight people and tell them they're wrong. So I had to do some research, and it was hard as fuck to find the truth about it. But I think that the video I made on it is a pretty good representation of the limitations of that engine. Just keep lifting them, bro. Eventually you'll get stronger and stronger. J-Swap CRV, that'd be something. Like an older CRV, like a first gen, that'd be amazing. Take that damn auto training off and fucking junk it and sell that fucking J. The J is actually one of the few engines I've considered buying on eBay because they fucking sell mad cheap there too. But you got to make sure you get the right one. You don't get the weak turd one. Yeah, you can make good power with the H22s. Oh yeah, for a first gen CRV. The torque wrench I have is the one I got from school. It's a Matco. I guess the only thing I can say was, if you're gonna get a cheaper one, just make sure you verify that it's good. Have it calibrated at least once a year. Yeah, dude. Them first gen CRVs, they're not that heavy. Yeah, I've had some really strong people surprised that, you know, I've had some people that are really surprised when they see me fucking start carrying shit around. Fucking, as a matter of fact, that same guy I was telling you about, this guy who has that parts shop down there, before he did the parts shop, he was one of the guys I bought my K20A3 off of, one of my K20A3s. I got it for 140 bucks, right? So I go, and at the time I had a G35, and if you guys don't fucking know, the G35's trunk is like a virgin's vagina, dude. You don't get big shit in there easy. And as a matter of fact, that time I put that engine in there, I decided to never do it again. So the shop he was working at was like mom and pop deal, but it was, you know, they had enough money in there where they had their own forklift. So these guys get the idea to put the A3 on a forklift and kind of like get it as close as possible to the trunk and drop it in there. But the way it was going to go, they were going to break out my back windshield. So I was like, hold on, man, hold on. It's like, you don't need to be all extra. Like, back up the forklift. Back up the forklift. So I went to the engine, I hugged it, which was mad easy because it was already at chest level. So I didn't even have to lift. I just had to fucking hold it. So I fucking hugged it, spun around, and dropped it in there. Everybody's just like, oh my god, bro, just fucking strong-armed the fucking K long block. And one of the first times I did that shit in front of somebody was, there was a engine in my homeboy's truck, in his truck bed, and I had to fucking, I was like, well, how are we gonna do this? What are we gonna do, man? We're gonna fucking drop it. I just put it down. Yeah, fucking, after I did that shit with the G35, I said never again, because to get that fucking thing out without fucking my windshield up, I had to fucking use a cherry picker to get it out of the trunk. There was no way for me to gain leverage and not hit something. It was fucking crazy. So yeah, G35, if you have one, don't try to put an engine in it. Every car I've owned, I've put an engine in the trunk. Well, every car I've owned over the last 8 years or so has got an engine in it at one point in time. My fucking wife, Sonic, has had a couple single cams in there. Together at the same time. Fucking the car riding like this, like I had drugs in the back. Nope, we just got engines in the back. Gotta increase the horsepower on this thing. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I've seen some slammed fucking CRV, first gen CRVs with boost and shit. You know, making, you know, beautiful, bro. My friend had one, like, I was in a kind of shitty situation because I had just bought my truck. Or, no, I hadn't bought the truck yet. But the guy that I sold my G35 to, because I got into a pickle and I needed to get rid of it quick, he was trying to, you know, like, he paid me like $1,000 up front, you know, and then he was going to, like, he had a manual CRV, and he was going to trade me that for the rest of his debt. And I thought about it, and I decided not to. Thinking back on it now, man, if I hadn't been leaving the state at the time, I would have hopped on that in a heartbeat, and I would still have that fucking CRV. And I probably would have VTEC'd and boosted it. I think that would have been a lot of fun. That would have been a killer sleeper. Roll up on somebody and fucking, like, you see these S10s out there with, you know, swaps putting down work. Roll up in a CRV. Yeah, that'd be nasty. Yep. That's probably going to be like the only chance in my life I ever had of getting one, and I fucking passed it up. You know, every once in a while you'll get a car that will, you know, that'll be like, this car I will keep until it dies type shit. That would have definitely been one. There's been one of the, it's not a frequent question. I guess it's kind of a frequent question. The question comes up pretty often about rear-wheel drive Civics or whatnot. And there's a friend of mine down in Miami who is using the all-wheel drive setup, or not the all-wheel drive, but the rear-wheel drive setup, or some shit like that, for the CRV and his EK. I definitely want to talk about that when it gets finished, and that's something I never considered before. But I don't know what kind of modifications he's going to need to do to be able to hold that power without breaking it. As far as, you know, different, you know, like mid-engine type deals and shit like this for Honda, they're coming up. Four-wheel drive. Well, there's so many people doing so much crazy shit out there nowadays. Like, when you see something enough times, it's becoming common. Tow hitch. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Roy. I like to think the same about myself too. You know, I know that there's a lot of people who have called me an asshole and this shit because I've clowned on them, and I've said this before. And if you come and you ask me something, if you come and you ask me a question and then you immediately go to challenge what I'm asking or what you're asking me, like, what was the point? Are you trying to set me up to make me look like a dumbass here? It kind of frustrates me, and I can be an asshole and frustrated, but who the fuck can't? So for the most part, like, I like to do communication, direct communication like this. That way you can see a genuine answer from me or hear a genuine answer. Because I know sometimes, even in my comment replies that I do something, it seems like I'm a little bit of a dick. But it's not me being a dick. I'd be speaking the same way like this, the way I say it there. You know, I had a comment, maybe it was today. I think it was today. You know, like on the transmission video, I have a guy like, what about this transmission for this engine? I'm like, well, dude, I literally covered that in the video you just watched. So I don't know, like, I really hate babying people through step by step. I like an engaging question, an intelligent question, something I haven't covered, make me rethink how I explain things. So that's when you get the best answer from me, when you make me think a little bit about it. But the guy's like, what about GSR training for a Type R engine? Like, you got that answer in that video. So, and then this has happened to me recently a couple of times. Well, my mechanic says, then listen to your mechanic, or listen to me, or make your own choice. I don't know, but just because you're telling me somebody else says something to challenge me doesn't mean I'm going to rethink my answer. Yeah, I know, stupid people. Fortunately, I haven't had a lot of stupid people, you know. Yeah, as far as that, I kind of do. Like, I do have a pinned video on the YouTube page, and it's called How to Navigate VHP Engines, where I do address the situation, because a lot of the questions I get, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, a lot of the questions I get are questions about boost, you know, for one, and the questions I've already covered. And I know that a lot of times people, you know, you see a new YouTube channel, they, you know, jump out there and see if I'm going to, you know, answer. I know a lot of times people are just going to see if I'm even going to reply. And I do reply. I reply to everybody unless you're clearly stupid. Like, a lot of times I won't ignore anybody until they've said some stupid shit enough where I'm just going to ignore it. But I tried to make the case on how to navigate VHP engines, and it seems like not a lot of people pay attention to that. I guess if I ever get to a point where I do an intro, then that would be the intro. It was like, hey, before you ask me a fucking question, please look at the videos I've uploaded. And I understand too, even myself, that sometimes it can be frustrating to navigate through a channel that's got a lot of videos. But if you navigate through the playlist, it makes it a lot easier, because the playlist a lot of times will have multiple videos that cover the same topic, and it'll be easier to find what you're looking for. Honestly, you know, like, you know, sometimes you need to go out there and fuck around to figure out shit for yourself. The most frustrating questions besides repeat questions are the ones that are very, very basic. Like, you had to have searched this on you know, Google before you talk to me. And a lot of times I understand, like, Google can be kind of confusing, because a lot of times you ask a specific question and it takes you to forums where people are debating. So I can understand when you're asking a question that, you know, it's not easy to find a clear answer, because there's so many different people answering. You don't know what to know. There's so many different information out there, so much that you don't know what's misleading and what's not. But a lot of times, man, I see people ask me questions, or people ask me questions that you could just Google. So a lot of times nowadays, I'm saying Google it. No, I haven't done any deep engaging training builds. I've only ever done a fucking transmission rebuild all the way through one time, and then I've been inside a couple of transmissions after that, but it wasn't for big shit. I'm not familiar enough with transmissions on the inside to be able to give, you know, to teach. I know that if I get in there, I can do what I'm looking to do myself, but I'm not as confident with transmission guts as I am with engine guts to try and give information out to other people. Why am I covering my fucking mouth? I ain't gonna cough on nobody. Oh shit. But yeah, I mean, I know potentially Hollywood Boulevard. Which Hollywood Boulevard? We talk about South Florida's Hollywood Boulevard or Hollywood Boulevard? I don't know. I didn't really see any trains out there. All I saw was Michael Jackson and Superman. I don't know if they make any aftermarket shit for you to get like real crazy intense for a drag strip, but if you're really looking, if you're like if you're specifically looking for short gears for a drag strip, then I would say stick with the SI transmission or the VTEC tranny. As far as figuring out which VTEC transmission would be the best for you between the Y8 or the Z6 or whatnot, I mean, you could look up gear ratios on Google. I'm pretty sure you can find that and then make a decision based off of that. But even on a drag strip, I'm not 100% sure that I would want to say stick with tight gearing. You're going to tap out. You're going to be shifting mad fast. I'm not 100% sure that's what you want. You're not going to really get into peak boost unless you go with a really small turbo. Did I miss a question from Alexis? Oh, I'm sorry, I did. B16 motor head off the short block. Everything looks super clean. Cylinders all. Can I make sure bearings and rings are good to assemble it and gets running? Alexis, there's a couple of ways you could go about this. You could just offer it, take everything apart, and put everything back together. If you take everything all the way apart, you can look at the bearings, and generally speaking, you can tell whether they're safe to reuse or not. And then you could reuse those bearings, and then all you would need to do is replace the rings. You got to replace the rings. If you want to go the semi-lazy route, you can take off the caps on everything, and check all the bearings without taking the pistons out, so that way you can maintain the integrity of the rings and won't have to replace those, and just make your decision based on that if you want to keep using those same bearings or get new ones. But then you'd have to retorque them. But retorquing down caps is a lot easier than re-ringing pistons. Me personally, there is not an engine that I buy ever that I don't rebuild for myself. There's no such thing as me going out and buying an engine secondhand and just reusing it. I don't give a fuck if it's going to be a stock engine rebuild or if it's going to be stock. I still don't trust using an engine I buy from somebody. It's extremely rare that I intentionally buy a healthy engine, mainly because they're more expensive. People want, that's got a good engine, whether it's good or good, they're going to be asking more money. It's cheaper for me to go out and buy a block or buy a blown block and then buy a crank and then, buy new parts from there. Because just because you have an engine with a spun bearing or a blown head gasket doesn't necessarily mean that the head is fucked or the rods are fucked. Generally speaking, more often than not, even with a spun bearing, if they if they pulled it out within a relatively decent time, the rod is still healthy enough to reuse. With a little common sense, you'll be able to look at the rod and tell whether it's good or not. And I'm pretty sure that I've given examples in my engine building tutorial videos of a bad rod versus a good rod that's reusable. If you have that B18 out of your car, it's not an emergency to get it back together. It doesn't cost very much money to buy new rings and new bearings. If you do pull it apart and your bearings are healthy, you can reuse those bearings. So you're only looking at about $20 to $22 for a set of rings. So if you already have it somewhat broken down, dude, I would strongly suggest, pulling up them big boy britches and getting yourself some rings at the very least to rebuild. So that way when you're putting that in, you're not losing compression, you're not burning oil, you're not smoking. It's a very small thing to do for a very great peace of mind. Plus, you're getting a fresh engine, more or less. And you don't have to buy a flex zone. You can go buy an AutoZone fucking hone tool and hone your shit yourself. And, it's worth it. It's always worth doing the rebuild. Well, everybody's a first timer at everything. If you didn't start something, if you had to have experience before getting to do something before you started, then nobody would ever do anything. especially if you're building it for your engine for yourself. It's like you're under no pressure. You're not building an engine to resell to somebody, so you don't have to worry about it fucking up. If you're building an engine for yourself and you do happen to make a mistake, then yeah, maybe it's aggravating to go back and have to pull it out and check it again. But but it's still worth it in the end. Like, especially if you never rebuild the cell for anybody, you could always just know the fact that you can rebuild your own engines. And in the Honda game, with it being like engines come and go all the time out of a single car, it's definitely a great skill to have. And I think that I've, you know, spoken enough here and shown enough here on here where you should be able to comfortably do your own build. It's not that difficult. You just for specialty tools, you need a hone. You need a hone tool. You need a fucking torque wrench, and I would strongly suggest you get a tool like a straight edge, something you can measure or check for warping in your head and your block. So that's very little tools that you need on a specialty wise, and honestly, it's not too much labor. Like, especially if you're just throwing it back together real quick and you don't really care about the exterior looking of the engine or look of the engine, it's not really that big a deal to do your own rebuild. Yeah, first time for everything. Alexis, or Mr. Civic there, I'm not trying to fucking throw what you just said. I'm not trying to say that, you know, to throw out your idea of a Helms manual. I'm not saying that buying a Helms manual is a bad thing. But you don't have to go out and spend $50 on a Helms manual. They're, you know, all you really need to look up are torque specs, and the torque specs are all over the internet. Roy, I never use a machine shop. Never, ever, ever. If something is so bad it needs to be machined, I toss it out. Anytime you're going to do a rebuild, you always have to change the rings. As far as bearings, it's 50-50. It depends. Like I said, a lot of times I buy blown engines, so I'm always replacing the bearings for a blown engine. Of course, I'm buying new bearings. If I get an engine that happens to be healthy, then I'm taking it out, inspecting the bearings are good, bearings are going back in. I've done several engines like that as well. It depends on the engine rebuild kit you're buying, Alexis. Like that's stuff that I've talked about in my eBay parts guide. It's not so wrong. It's not so much of what's in your kit. It's whichever kit you're buying. Honestly, the weakest part to most cheap ass fucking rebuild kits is the head gasket, and that is kind of relative. That weakness is depending on what your goals are with your fucking your engine. If it's going to be a 100% stock rebuild, you don't plan on running any power through it, then you can use that head gasket in that cheap kit. If you plan on making any power, take your ass to Auto Parts and buy a Fel-Pro. But as far as that, most of the other gaskets and shit in there are rubber or whatnot, so it's all relatively speaking the same shit. So you can buy a $40 rebuild kit and pretty much use everything you get there. The rings I use are cheap. The fucking bearings I use are cheap for the most part. I've never had a problem with spinning a bearing or a ring not holding compression and smoke. No, I don't machine heads. I check them for straightness, and if they're straight, they go on the block. As far as a rebuild for heads, I mean, like, I've never seen a head failure. I'm not saying they don't happen. Of course, valves leak and shit like that happen, but I've just never run into it. And I mean, at the end of the day, if you're buying a fucking engine rebuild kit for gaskets and shit, you're gonna get valve stem seals in there. And I have a head rebuild video, so you could clean up the head if you want to make it, you know, everything spring better, less resistance from gunk buildup, and then put new valve stem seals to give you a peace of mind. But generally speaking, Honda parts are so cheap and plentiful that if you need to do machine work, then that shit needs to go. I'm not paying no machine shop $100 or $150 when I can buy another part for $50. Yeah, it's possible. Now, Mr. Civic here, there's two things I can say about that. You know, one, if it started to leak right off rip, then there's a good chance that maybe you know, there was warpage going on that didn't get repaired, and he just straight up replaced the gasket. 2, I don't know, maybe something could happen in there during the installation. I also have seen a eBay head gasket fell off rip. But I've also got a cheap $10 head gasket from Evergreen, and it lasted up to 300 plus horsepower before it popped. It popped at 350. So I mean, it's relative. If you're doing a stock rebuild, then I would say, yeah, go ahead and use that head gasket. But if you're not, then Felpro has a Felpro head gasket for like $58. Buy the Felpro. But as far as the, you know, oil pan gasket, valve cover gasket, and shit like that, then it's all just rubber shit. It's all the same stuff. It's gonna hold. Yeah, you can get a new finish on the heads, bro. I clean up my deck and head surfaces. You can do that without a machine shop. You don't need a grinder machine to scrape your metal down, shorten the lifespan of your head and block, when you can clean it by hand. This is also something I've preached about, and I even made a video based on that, like when to machine your block in your head. I understand if you're in a place where Honda parts aren't plentiful, like I am now. If I had an engine that was fucked up for any, you know, for any means, I would have to. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, dude. If you have access to a shop, if I had access to a shop and I had access to that equipment, fuck yeah, I would do it. You know, well, I can't really say I would do it every time because, like I said, that's contradicting what I've mentioned before. Every time that you deck something, you're shortening the lifespan of that part. So I don't think that you should deck a head or a block unless you absolutely need it, and you don't absolutely need to deck it unless it's warped. You know, but a lot of people get into that mirror finish type deal. They want that perfect looking block, you know, but you're only going to see that until the head and shit's bolted back together. After that, you're never going to see it again. So a lot of people spend a lot of extra money based on the machine shop. Well, I was talking about rebuilding my truck engine the other day, and well, the other day I was talking about, you know, pulling out my engine from my truck and just do a rebuild and all this shit because it's got a misfire. And then the guy was like, well, what the fuck? By the time you do that, you could have just bought a brand new engine. I'm like, what the hell? How much fucking money you think, you know, I'm going to spend? Well, it's like, by the time you take it to the machine shop, it's just like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't do no machine shops, buddy. I do all that cleaning and shit myself. I'm not sure that I know who Old School Funk is, but I do know that there's a black dude on here that I've seen on YouTube who took like he made like a custom wood board and a big ass piece of sandpaper, and he went to town on one. And you can fix shit like that. Me personally, if it was warped that bad where I really need to put that much work in, I probably wouldn't use it. But I routinely fix, you know, spots on decks and shit all the time by hand. It's not that big a deal. The only way to get cheap power out of any Honda engine is boost. That's the cheapest way to go for power. Oh, that's the guy? Yeah. Yeah, dude, if you can get a hookup, then Honda for, you know, 100%. Yeah, you can mill for higher compression, but unless you're doing like a very, very tight blueprint on an engine, it's not worth it. The compression bump you're going to get from milling a head or a block isn't going to be big enough to make a difference. But yeah, a lot of times I've seen machine work go for much higher than what the part costs. You know, that's a whole rant that's behind me, man. Machine shops, bro. I mean, I appreciate what they do. I love what they do. I watch the videos on machine work. It's beautiful. I wish I could afford the equipment, but you know, for a Honda, it just doesn't justify the cost. If you're all about high compression and high revving, then do an NA build. Get some CTR pistons, and there you go. CTR pistons, GSR cams, or GSR head complete, and that's the cheapest you're gonna get for power. But you're only gonna make like 200 something horsepower at most, and the torque isn't gonna be that great. If you're looking for NA and power and NA, B16 is not the way to go. Yes, milling can jack up your quench. This is all reasons why I'm saying you're killing the lifespan of your engine and all that shit. And then if you take it too far down, you don't know how far the other guy's taking it. Then you're gonna need to fucking measure the exact height to make sure the clearances are good, or you might even have to clear your pistons. And fuck that. That is entirely too much time to do. So no machine work. Just say no. Just say no to machining Honda stuff. Honestly, you can buy CTR pistons for like $100 or less, and they come with rings, so that's one expense is gone. But you are going to need to press the piston, so if you don't have a press already, you could be potentially going $100 in the hole to buy one, and then hoping that you don't fuck a piston up when you're pressing it, because pressing it with those presses is kind of pain in the ass. Or you could go to a machine shop and have them press it for you, but you're still going to be down at least $40 to do that. But relatively speaking, it's not that expensive. Like, but at the end of the day, doing that modification might run you as much as a turbo kit. But then you still have to worry about tuning and all that shit. But then again, if you're going to do high compression, you still need to tune anyway. So it's probably cheaper to do boost. Yeah, H22 is a good way to go. I guess also for NA power, but Honda has so many different options now over just the H22 that looking at a K isn't that big of a deal anymore either. Bro, I still fuck up pistons from time to time. It happens. I broke a fucking B16 piston when I went to go press the B18s, but I was kind of fucking around. I kind of knew what was going to happen, and I was like, fuck it, do it anyway, and I broke it like an asshole. Any thought on H23? Not specifically. I don't think I'd fuck with it. Alexis, I'm notorious for doing shitty swaps. Like, not that they don't run, but like fucked up parts. Like motor mounts that are fucking shaking like a motherfucker, axles with broken boots. Yeah, you can use your stock mounts. You just might not have the rigidity that you want. Just make sure that when you're on the dyno, you're looking at the engine. If it's looking like it's going to hop out, you might want to get something newer. Or you can get new stock mounts, and that's not that expensive, and that's fine. You might want to do a little bit more digging around on that CTR and the LSV. That might be dangerous. You might be looking at piston and valve contact. Maybe, maybe not. I haven't 100% decided if I would be brave enough. I think as far as LSV goes for high compression, I would probably just stick with the PR3s. Oh, Roy, I'm not saying anything bad about the H22. It's definitely a viable thing. I love the way the H22 looks, so I would love to do an H eventually. But if I did an H, I wouldn't do a pure H. I would do a G, and I very much want to do one of those. No, I haven't got any H-beams, man. Like, after I got fucking thrown out of my position in fucking March, I've just been so broke. I can't even buy the parts I need to finish the Integra, let alone buy a set of H-beams. Although, the only H-beams right now that I have in my focus that I want to buy is off a friend of mine who lives out in Arizona, and he's got a brand new set of Manleys for a K20A3, which I would, if I had money to buy rods, he would be the guy I'd be talking to right now. Machine. Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I collect parts all the time. Whenever I had the revenue to buy shit like that, every time I would see a set of rods pop up, whether I thought I needed them or not, I'd fucking buy them right away. Pistons pop up, I'd buy them right away. I sat on pistons for a fucking year at a time before getting used, just because it's never a bad thing to buy forged pistons for like $150. Who the fuck wouldn't? Well, that's a good thing there, Mr. Civic. If you've already done Mike and Clay, then... But you got to make sure, too, that when you're claying those fucking pistons that you have VTEC engaged, because a lot of people make the mistake of claying it without the VTEC locked in, and they're getting good numbers, but then you go back and look at, forget the VTEC has to be locked in place for you to see that quench, too, and you got to remember that that is also will make a difference. So make sure if you haven't clayed it with the VTEC locked in that you do that too. If you're not revving over 7,500, it's either a conscious decision or your ECU hasn't been modified. Swapping the pistons alone isn't going to be enough to make it rev higher. I'm not 100% sure if it is a, well, oh man, dude. I think there's probably a kit for that you need. And in that kit will have the mount. I can't name it off the top of my head though, because I've done hydro to cable. I've never done cable to hydro before. The CTR pistons, ITR pistons are pieces of shit. They're not good for anything except for the motor they come from. ITR pistons are a waste of time. Yeah. Yeah, to the H23. Personally, I think the hybrid H's are way better value than a blue top or whatnot, so I wouldn't pay the extra premium for the blues when I could make something with cheaper that'd be way more powerful. Most likely, yeah, you're most likely to have to be an aftermarket mount. I'm not 100% sure on that, so I can't really be 100% sure. Like I said, I've done hydro to cable. I've never done cable to hydro. Yeah, CTR are the highest compression you can get stock. No, I haven't done that. Well, I have done a D15B. My very first swap was like a D16 whatever piece of shit non VTEC to a D15B, and it was fun. But I mean, like, as far as when you're looking at modifying a single cam, it doesn't fucking matter what the single cam is. Just get a VTEC head, a non VTEC block or whatnot, or get a VTEC, whatever VTEC engine, and put some Vitara pistons in there and some aftermarket rods, and boom, 400 horsepower. Mr. Banger here, what I was just talking about to the other guy, Civic, he's talking about doing a CTR pistons in a B18 or an LSV, and you got to really make sure that you're checking clearances, very tight clearances there. It's very dangerous. It's piston to valve contact in a LSV, if you're using CTR rods, is a high possibility. High enough of a possibility that I don't really feel comfortable doing that. And I think the PR3s, give you a high enough compression bump that you're fine with that. Yeah, I'm not arguing that. They definitely do drop right in. They'll fit. But what I'm talking about is piston to valve contact. That's where, it's very close. So it's like one of those things I was saying, like, where you're not knowing the history of the block. You don't know how many times that block has been milled or that head has been milled without getting very precise on the measurements. And I would say that it's kind of easy to judge properly. Like if you're measuring from outside the block, the deck height, the exact deck height, or in the exact head height, it's kind of easy to fudge those numbers up. And because it's so close, if you're off, then you could detonate your shit. Yeah, you have to clay them, and you have to make sure you clay it locked in VTEC on that head. Because if you just clay it without doing VTEC, then you're getting inaccurate numbers. And that's true too. The B16 head will come up with different compression ratio than a GSR, and I think the GSR is a little bit tighter. So anyway, because I'm lazy and I don't like to do the claying shit and all that stuff, I'm aware of the fact of what you need to do to make sure you have accurate clearance. I just tend to skip over that shit and not do it, and I don't play with fire. If it's that close where you're that close to making a mistake, I can't justify that kind of pushing for that extra little bit of compression. It's not a little bit. I think it actually is like a 2-point jump. So it is pretty big. But I think horsepower wise, it's going to be a little in terms of power. The power difference is going to put down. It's going to be close enough where I don't think 20, maybe 30 horsepower, is big enough of a jump for me to have the extra work going into it. What you do is it's kind of like Play-Doh. You put clay in the valve reliefs of the piston, and you bolt the head down, and then you rotate it. And what happens is when your valves open and close, like, it'll press down into that clay, and you'll, you know, judging by that is where you can see if you're gonna have contact or if it's gonna clear. B18, bro, jump on the train. It's fucking awesome. B18, bro, B18s is the only engine I stock up on besides single cams. B18s and single cams, bro. They're so diverse, you can do so much shit with them. They're great engines, and they're so cheap. Somebody asked me, like, GSR. I was like, what the fuck is a GSR? Just taxing ass motherfuckers for a GSR for no reason. Alexis, is not too late to sell your block. Sell your block. Or trade plus cash. That's always the best. Somebody will think he's winning out. Yeah, I got a B16 block for a B18. But really, you're the winner. Well, you know, yeah, it's the resurfacing thing that happens there is that, like, if people have resurfaced your block, every time you shave metal off that, you're making it tighter and tighter and tighter. So you know, the whole reason why I was saying is you don't know the history of the heads and shit, and it's easy to fuck up that measurement because the measurements are so close that LSV Tech kit is not a big deal. It's literally like 2 plugs. I mean, as in like for oil. That's all it is, oil flow. I would never use Great in B16. I hate them. And I'm not being biased there. It's just because the numbers are low. Even if you can squeeze decent horsepower out of a B16, you're not going to get decent torque. Although I will admit at the same time too, the B16 I built for Ivan, he put down unexpected torque numbers, but he tuned like 2 or 3 different times before he finally dialed in where he wanted it to be. And at the end of the day, even though he made more torque than my B16 I did, the power overall was less than mine. You know, my first super high horsepower car was a B16, but just because I had that, and just because I've built a couple of forged B16s afterwards, doesn't mean that, you know, I'm not understanding and seeing the limitations of the build. And when you put the B16 up against the rest of the entire B series family, it's lacking, and it'd be crazy not to acknowledge that. The heads were something though, yeah. No, I did talk about the streams before. Like, I didn't talk about it in one of my recent uploads. Well, I kind of did. I did say I was going to be doing a live stream sometime in the future. And when I did talk about doing a live stream, I said I was going to do a late night live stream during the weekend, which didn't happen. As far as future live streams from now on, I'm not going to do it like super frequent. But I will be doing them. I'll probably do a live stream like once every 100 subscribers, because maybe that gives 2 or 3 guys extra that'll jump into the live stream that wants to get a chance to talk to me directly. So if you want to know when the next live stream is going to be, it's going to be at 1,700 subscribers. When I get to 1,700, I will make an announcement. As far as announcing right now tonight's, I did say it about 3 hours in advance. I did say on Snapchat, and I did post it on Facebook. These 2 things are really big if you want to follow for updates of what I'm going to be doing on the channel and shit. Facebook is where I put all that general news out, but Snapchat more so than any other social media shit is what I've been talking on recently, because it's real quick for me to record a video and have it everybody shared to. And Yeah. So if you're not following me on Snapchat or whatnot, that's something I'd recommend. If you don't have Snapchat, it's not your thing, you don't want to do that, then Facebook is the way to go. Because I'm not going to spam my channel with a whole bunch of micro videos just to let you know when I'm going to do stuff like this. I never use anything less than a 3-inch exhaust when I'm doing boost. Oh, YouTube metrics. Well, I mean, my early streams were the earliest ones I did were late at night because I was kind of trying to figure out how it would work, and I didn't want to fuck it up and have a whole bunch of people see it. And then I did a couple in the morning, and then, like, you know, right about now, like 8 or 9 guys coming and talking. I don't mind. Like, if you see the streams running 94 minutes, I'll talk my ass off as long as I have people engaging. You know, I have a habit of running 2 hours on a live stream. Oh yeah, y'all live in the same area, right? There you go. Fucking hit it up, man. Keep the fucking B16 Pistons, though. Put them in that B18 block. How much you pay for it again? That's true, Mr. Turbo there. A larger audience makes it harder. Because I'm not going to lie, sometimes you guys hit me with like 3 or 4 questions at once, and I have to fucking take some time to go back and look through it. So I don't mind. I like talking to you guys, so I don't mind keeping with a small crowd. 2.5 is fine NA. I wouldn't go 3-inch for NA. It's a little bit, you don't want too much. I think the GSR head is where they got you. 500 was fair, but the GSR head is a little bit much. Although, I mean, I would never pay. Well, no, that's fine. $500 is fine. Go big or go home. $140 for the head. That's a decent price. That's a good price. You did a good job on that. That was a good buy. Yeah, I guess you could, you know, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to fucking base my pricing off of any of these like these distributors that buy from Japan because they're fucking insanely expensive. I would never go to one of these guys unless you're going for a not so common engine that's hard to find on the street, like a fucking, you know, if you're looking for like a WRX engine or some shit like that, then yeah, go to those guys. But anything Honda, man, I'd rather buy from a fucking junkyard before I buy one of those guys. And I'm not even sure if they factor in shipping when they fucking sell, you know, sell prices. That B16s like sell for like what, $1,100, like $1,500, and they're garbage. Yeah. Well, honestly, everywhere you're going to go, you're going to see people overinflating the price for VTEC heads. They rarely sell at that price. You'll see fucking posts all the time, $500 for a head. It rarely sells like that. But everybody posts it like that, so everybody keeps posting it like that, but they really take home a lot less than that. I've never paid more than $250 for a head, and generally speaking, I get my heads from trades and shit. So that right there, that should be your measure, stopgap. $250 should be your cap for a head. Now, mind you, I'm saying this is minus just intake manifold, minus distributor, shit like that. If you're talking about just a head, it's the guts from the head and the valve cover. $250 should be your max. Yeah, obviously, I mean, I've done that build on this channel. The PR3 pistons work fine. Yeah, turbo, man. Them fucking engines are not guaranteed to be. Yeah, that's just rumors and myth. Yeah, if you can. Yeah, if you can. If you. That's the only way you're knowing your shit. 60 euros. I don't know how much that is. You sold your shit for 60 squiggly line. 60 cursive L. Not to knock your. Well, you guys, never mind. You guys are in the same area, so you all can drive to each other. Not a big deal. I was gonna be a Jew here and smack your price around a little bit because of the weight, but shipping. But you're not paying shipping, so. Alexis, you just jumped on today? Well, welcome. You got lots of fucking catching up to do if you just got in here today. Pounds. Well, yeah, I know that. I knew that was the pound sign, but I just don't know what the conversion rate is. Yeah, all the B series except for fucking B20s are like 81 millimeter, but GSR pistons on LS rods are not something you can just straight up do unless you modify. So that's not 100% true there. They all fit in the same cylinder holes, but they all don't necessarily made up to the same rods. Triller, that is a fucking excellent point you just made there. Low mileage, high traffic. It's a fucking island with millions and millions of people. You stop, go, stop, go, stop, go. Way more wear and tear than it would be with a higher mileage engine on the highway. Which video you talk about there, Alexis? $150 for a healthy block is completely fair. I pay that. That's what I would pay. I haven't been at a drag strip since I was like 20 years old. So you're talking about 10 years ago. As far as racing on the street, I only roll, and people may talk about shit like that. But then again, I haven't even been to a meet in probably about the same time as I've drag raced. My races are all pickup races. I'm on the highway, somebody trolls, I beat their ass. So there's not really a lot of great tips I can tell you. You just need seat time. Nobody can tell you anything except you need to learn that for yourself. You need to have the seat time. You need just in the car you're racing and just in general. Oh, I think I know which video that was. I think that was the last B16 I built. I was fucking pissed that day, man. 2 trips back and forth and I kept forgetting shit. I was so fucking mad. And it was so fucking hot. Alright, man, Roy, take care. Peace. Yeah, it was fucking hot as shit that day, man. Yeah, LSD helps. I guess, you know, that's a little tipping for what you should build as far as actual seat time, like, or actual drag racing, you know. Right tires, right rims, right tire pressure. Had a Type R transmission once. The second gear was bad, you know, but the diff was good, of course. I wound up swapping it out for a healthy LS. Yep. Better for me. Plus, I got to square up some debts. So that was great. All right, guys, just a heads up. I got 10 or 15 minutes more. I mean, at most for this. Tomorrow's the first day of fucking school, so I gotta get up at like 6:30 in the morning to get my fucking son ready and shit. And it's going on 2 o'clock in the morning here, so I got, yeah, like I said, 10 or 15 more minutes. So quick, hurry up, do your little deal connection there, so that way I can log out of here with a clear conscience. Ooh. And my phone had died before I took a shower, and I charged it up to about 25%. I do have it on the charger now, but I've got, you know, the lights at full brightness and all that good shit, so my phone's dying too. I'm at 10% battery, so I gotta go regardless. Yeah, suspension mounts, tires. Shower with the phone. No, I mean, I took a shower earlier. I was kind of, you know, I was doing my after work shit, and I'm fucking pooping, and I'm on my phone. And I'm like, 10% battery. Fuck it, I'm not gonna be that long. And then boom, phone shut off because it's a Jewish bastard. And I put it on the charger, took a shower. I think the shower took like 20 minutes. You guys could communicate through my page. Anybody can post on the actual page. You can go to my Facebook page and just make a comment there. I'm not going to take it down or anything. Cool, man, Mr. Triller. I've been guilty of doing the same thing. I've had channels where I've stalked for a while before I subbed. Welcome to the fucking family. It's up to you, man. I mean, like, it really depends. You can make plenty of power off that B16 if you go boost, but if you're gonna look to stay in A, dude, then definitely get the B18, because you can put, if you put the same amount of money into the B16 in A versus the B18 in A with a VTEC head, you're gonna make more power every time off the B18. Ew, that's gross. Live stream pooping. Is that guy who eats weird shit? Swapping into a 2000 EK. You could always buy a cable tranny and do the conversion. It's much cheaper to buy a cable tranny than a B series hydro. Fucking B18 A B difference. There's not a huge difference there. I'm not worried about that. One's got the catch can, one doesn't. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying. B16 tranny. Yeah, B20 is not a bad idea for NA either. But, I mean, the B18 is still my go-to block because people like the tax. The B16 or either the B16 or the fucking GSR. Whichever one you can come across first. Yeah, and definitely LS if you're going to boost. I've had a first-hand experience with turbo and B16 tranny. It is a horrible combination, horrible combination. And yes, you also have the benefit of the LS being the cheaper of the things. But yeah, both you guys just know that you can go to my fucking Facebook page. The description is there. All my description of my videos have a link to it if you haven't already found it, and just make a comment there. And I'm not gonna hit you guys for it or anything. I'm not gonna take it off. So that way you can communicate there and you don't have to worry about going all crazy. Oh, you're not on Facebook? Well, you suck. True. No replacement for displacement. This is very true. Peace out, Mr. Zero Lag. You know, actually, I think I might do a video on that, man. Thanks for that. You know? I've talked about this once or twice, but I never fucking focused on that topic. Yeah, I think I might do that in the future. Be something, you know, it'll be short, but a little, you know, a quick little discussion. Peace out, guy. Fuck. Peace, Mr. Children, and welcome again. Yep, no problem, man. like I said, I'll do another live stream when I get to 1700. But you know, as always, feel free to inbox me or whatnot. If generally speaking, unless I'm sitting at home, my answers are gonna be real short and direct if I'm at work, because obviously I don't want to stand around fucking having a long conversation on the phone at work. So don't think that if I'm fucking giving you a short answer or whatnot that I'm trying to brush you off, that I don't have time for you. It is a time issue. Plus, I hate texting long on the phone anyway. So yeah, if you get to the point where private or want to message or whatnot, Alexis, man, you gotta jump on social media though, man. It'd be easier to talk to people. Yeah, there's plenty of older V8 engines that make like fucking laughable power, but the displacement thing is the truth when it comes to building power. If you're gonna do forced induction or whatnot, the bigger displacement you have, the more power you're gonna build. You know, the more power you're gonna have, the room for power growth, as opposed to a four-cylinder. A four-cylinder at 500 horsepower, you're looking at needing high as octane to make continue to make power, as versus to something with more displacement where you can use still the lower octanes or regular premium and still make that same power. Like a 2JZ will make 500 or 600 horsepower on pump as compared to a four-cylinder, which isn't going to make that. Too much temptation. That's part of the reason why I would like to buy a 240 and do a V8 swap or a 2J swap, because, man, it's great. I want to get big power. Plus, I would love to make 400 plus horsepower NA. That would be beautiful. 2JZ is king. I've also been debating making a video about the Supra and maybe the 2J. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll make a discussion about that. Maybe I'll sneak and grab some extra people who don't like Honda as subscribers to the channel. That's a build of mine. As a build dream of mine, eventually I would like to get a 2J swap to 240. It will happen someday. If not when I'm rich, then when I go back to Florida. I have a very strong confidence that if I go back to Florida and I start up my engine shop again, like officially down there, that I could be making a serious amount of extra side money. Fucking A. That's too hardcore for me. Stock block, how much is he making? K-Series videos in general, like about the K24 and stuff like that. Is that what you mean? Daniel? Am I lagging? Yes to the builds, for sure, eventually. I still want to make a Forged K for myself. Plus, I'm going to never stop building engines, and K eventually will become the overwhelming amount of engines we have on the market. So yes, more K builds will happen in the future, especially if I get back to a big city. 600 is pretty good. I know that they can make 700 stock block. I know that the record's like 1,000 or some shit like that, but reliability... Oh, slow typer. Okay. Well, anyway, as far as discussion videos, I feel fairly confident that we're going to talk about the K more in the future, which is why I went ahead and made the K playlist. I don't have any plans to do which one next or whatnot, but I think the most obvious discussion video for the K family next would be the K24. And I think the K24, the more thought I put into it, I think the K24 is probably the best, simply because the diversity there is much easier as opposed to the K20 where you have to swap cranks around and shit. So it's a pain in the ass. Oh, this is Puerto Rico? A lot of crazy fucking builds coming out of Puerto Rico. Yeah. Okay, Turbo, yeah, I'm going to read your question again here because I want to make sure that I'm reading it right. I've heard chatter that 4-piece customer heads were not as good as their trophy heads from their videos. Any truth to that? 500 brake horsepower K-Series all motor. Now, is that the last two sentences one question? Any truth to the 500 horsepower K motor or any truth to the trophy heads being more powerful? Okay, I think, okay, so for me to say I know a lot about 4-piston, the business themselves, no, I don't know. I don't know specifically for sure. Do I believe that's possible? Yeah, I believe it's very possible. From the way these people are, and they're shady about sharing their information, I wouldn't put it past them to have their customer shit not as good as their own. For two reasons. One, because they may be doing it deliberate. They may be doing it deliberately to keep the more powerful ones for themselves. And two, because when you do something and do something and do something like that, and you have multiple people working in your business, the chances are variations in the power lines to exist. Now, if it's one dude making all this shit himself all the time, then there's a better chance of it being consistent all across the board. But when you're doing it on a high scale like they probably are, there's also chances of inconsistencies when you're doing so many that eventually you're going to have a couple that vary. The K24, because again, displacement there's no replacement for displacement, so the K24 would be the engine I would go to. And you can get a K24A4 block for as cheap as the fucking K20A3 block. So I would definitely grab a K24A4. Like if I had one available, that would be the build that I would choose if I was going to go K, because you have the displacement and you still have the cylinder strength, which is amazing compared to the B series where you have displacement in the B20, but you don't have cylinder strength because they cheaped out when Honda made that block. Especially if you're gonna stay in A and you want the most power out of the K family, then go with the K24. And I will talk about the K24. I'm glad that you asked about that. That was something I will put down as a mental note, and I'll write it down somewhere to talk about the K24 in the very near future. Yeah, it's the same for me, man. Okay. All right. Any last questions you got real quick? The last 5 or 10 minutes, fucking the last 10 minutes, saved me here. Got me some questions for some future videos, so that's cool. But I'm going to wrap things up because I do got to get up in 4 hours to get my son ready for school. I'm assuming that 14.5 you're talking about is for their 4-piston. Fuck that. 6-speed if you're gonna stay in a 5-speed if you're gonna go boost. If you're talking bolt-on, so 6-speed. I can't be without my chin hair, man. You go back and look at the videos where I cut the beard off and look how fucking disgusting I am. Oh no. No, baby, what is you doing? Keep the beard. I can't be without it. I am losing weight. I've been losing weight since I've been in my exile and lifting weights and shit, but I'm not losing it nearly fast enough to be confident to be without it. I need to shave off another fucking 50 pounds before I'm fucking comfortable with being out with a beard. Alright, guys. Alright, so that's I appreciate the compliment there, buddy. I used to think those engines were heavy, and then you realize that, like, when I actually weighed the B18 block that I assembled because I was going to ship it, it's like 148 pounds. It's not so much as heavy as the engine blocks are awkward to pick up. You know, if you gotta, you know, if there's pinch points all over it, so you can hurt yourself if you're not grabbing it the right way. But as long as once you're used to doing it and you know where to hold the motherfucker at, it's not that big a deal. Especially if you're not, you know, the only time it becomes a pain in the ass if you're trying to lift it to slide onto an engine stand. Then it could be, you know, it could be fucking a pain in the dick. But 148 pounds ain't bad. Yeah, I don't mind it. You know, I like doing these live streams. I would do them more often, but I don't want to crowd the channel with a whole bunch of live streams and get new subscribers or new potential subscribers thinking that that's what the majority of these videos are, or that I do here. Because most people that are new to the channel tend to see what's at the top of the playlist, and I don't want it to just be, I don't want it to just be like a live vlogging type thing. All right, guys. So with that, I will call it a quits here. The next live stream will not be late at night like this. It'll probably be on a weekend, sometime during the midday Eastern time. As far as that, like I said earlier, people can post on my Facebook wall. I mean, I know that I'm potentially inviting trolls to fucking start talking shit. I guess if that gets out of hand, I'll just shut that shit off. But it's never happened. There's very few people who actually commented there. You can make open requests on the page, and if I see enough people that chime in on that, that may be something I consider. As a matter of fact, I'll probably put something out on Snapchat, and I'm probably put it on Facebook here in the next day or so, talking about that. I know people try to sell them for like $300, but I would never pay $300 for a B16 block. I don't know, man. Maybe start at $300 and see what you get from there. Personally, I think that you should definitely at least keep the pistons, but you're gonna have to press them off to keep them, or keep the pistons and rods and sell the crank and the block. And I don't know, man. Like B16 blocks, people like to sell them at high price, but the demand isn't really there. So, like I said, maybe just start at $300, or if you sell it as a bare block and a crank, you know, like 150, maybe 180. 180 is probably fair. All right, guys, that's it. There will be news updates here in the future. What's going to happen? Yeah, K2484. If y'all got, I don't know how many people are here that weren't here earlier or whatnot. If you got any questions for me, hit me up on Facebook or wherever social media that I have linked, and I'll get back to you on questions. And I'll see y'all later. Peace.